We are the director and cast of The Incomer, and I've forgotten the second part.
We're at
love
Sundance
it.
with IndieWire.
Okay.
Faster this time, please.
Yeah, a little faster this time, and just put me in it. Don't, you know.
We are the director and cast of The Incomer, and we're at Sundance with IndieWire. Brother and sister, very strange, live on an island. Council worker comes to remove them. Cultures clash. Comedy ensues.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
Bang on.
My family are from, all over Scotland, but the north of Scotland's where my mum's from, and we used to go there when we were young. I mean, it's just a really kind of magical place. It's very far north. You can see the northern lights. There's shipwrecks half in and half out the water, birds everywhere, windswept, it's just sky and sea, and all of, there's so much history there, I suppose. So I hadn't seen many films that were shot up there, and it just felt like, it feels like the edge of the world. It feels slightly magical, and it's all just kind of steeped in this mythology as well. So there's a little bit of all that, in the film. And I think also I really wanted to go and shoot somewhere on real locations. So, I think we only built one set in this. It was the Coast Guard shed. Everything else we sourced. So all the abandoned houses are real abandoned houses, and I think it does have that slightly kind of almost post-apocalyptic kind of, barren vibe to it. But I also find it beautiful, and I think in the film we capture kind of the harshness of it, but also the naturalistic sort of beauty as well.
I think the process as an actor is much the same. Sometimes there's less acting because you're not pretending it's cold or it's windy or that, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't heat the sea for us. The sea was as cold as, as it's meant to be. So it strips away some acting and lets you just connect with the people around you and concentrate on the script. And I think everything Louis described is true about the place, but like when I think about those landscapes, I think about serious films.
Yeah.
I think about sort of like, and to do a comedy, like an out and out comedy in that sort of thing is more like the with nail and eye, you know what I mean? Like there's something else that happens when you put comedy in a really brutal landscape that's also beautiful. So I think it just helped all of it.
I think balancing comedy and drama like that is always tricky, but I felt like the more absurd it was, the more straight it needed to be played across the board, and that wasn't just through performance, it was actually, the way we approached it visually as well. We based it in quite sort of natural colours, we didn't shoot it as like a typical comedy, but screenwriting, it was more, again, just finding that balance of, what was the truth of what was going on. Often the way I write, is my outlines read like dramas, and then it's more in the kind of execution and the dialogue. I worked a lot with Grant throughout the process. Grant would read every script. We've worked together for a long time, and he would read every version of the script, and we'd kind of workshop it and things like that. So, and then bringing all these guys aboard, we did some workshops as well, and it started to the characters started to take more shape in that way.
Gayle and Grant, I'd love to hear from each of you. You're playing such codependent people. How did your relationship as actors change?
Oh no.
How did it change?
Did it change? Well, I mean, so basically they're very codependent, but they're also essentially children in adults' bodies because they've been isolated since they were like 10, 12 years old. So they're interacting with each other as children, fighting and we're,
But there's also a kind of independence within the codependency, if that makes sense. And we kind of found that through a lot like movement. It's like, there's so much space. These people inhabit an entire island by themselves, and it's something kind of like childlike and funny and absurd about that, and they have their own identities, and yet, they are kind of like glued together. But we did talk about a lot of like, what's their kind of physical language?
Awkward hugs.
A lot of awkward hugging.
Yeah. And
very,
off camera.
very violent.
Yeah.
You can explode into kind of these fights that just come out of nowhere. As
Yeah,
well, which
there's
felt,
a lot of violence.
And like our relationship became a little bit more brother and sister by the end of shooting. I'd like to try and pay her a compliment, for example, which would end up with her being like, stop. But
And then I'd like start crying. I'd be like, you're so good. Bonding. It was bonding. Yeah. Let's say that. Right?
yeah. Best friends. Do you know, on the second day of filming for us, we had to do a fight scene together. And it's always great fun to do a fight scene, and it's such a kind of unconventional fight scene to shoot. So there's that element of it being fun as well. But I just specifically remember during one take just screaming in her face as loud as I could, and then she immediately just screamed in my face as loud as she could. And I thought, yeah, this is going to work. This is going to be fun.
I mean, my favorite scene to shoot, I think, and to watch, I saw it last night and I was inconsolable, was the cave scene with the electric toothbrush. I just won't really ever recover from that. You know, a seagull milked into his mouth.
Seal, yeah.
Oh, seagull. Sorry, a seal. A seal.
Different animals.
I get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Domhnall, what is it like playing the character that nobody wants?
What?
Oh, I don't know about that.
That's a little harsh. I didn't hear the rest of your question because I was so hurt by the first half. I felt really connected to them as people pretty quickly. So the job is for the character to feel on the outside, but I felt very involved in the whole process. So it was good, you know. And they start off obviously really, really against each other. And that's a clear dynamic to play, which is often all you're looking for, is to know what you want, know what they want, and how you're going to clash. And then as it goes along, he starts siding with each of them in a different way, or each of them starts siding with him. So as long as the dynamics are clear, I'm happy. And that's what makes it funny, that's what makes it sad, and that's what makes it beautiful, I think.
I mean, it took 10 years to write. I started writing it about 10 years ago. And there were points where I was funded, you know, I had development money. And then there were parts where they were like, we're not going to continue developing this. And there were points where I'd finish a draft and I'd get stuck in a draft, and I would feel like, not only do I not know how to write this, I don't know how to write. And I was at the time, you know, it's funny because the film is about isolation. At the time, I was working from home all the time, you know, and it's sort of, you just kind of stuck with, you know, this self-doubt, which you've kind of imposed on yourself as well. But I found the way through that was just to get it in front of people and to get feedback, and immediately things start. It's not that they necessarily tell you what to do, it's just that as soon as you start talking about how they've received the story, you immediately realize, you know, what's working and what's not working. So, you know, I mean, it sounds obvious, but just feedback, loads of feedback, you know. Human connection,
Yeah.
which is what the film is about. You know?
In a way, yeah.
In a way, in the way, yeah.